Okay. Hello, guys. My name is Namdi Oji. I'll be talking about how to craft your CV like a pro. I don't know how many people have joined us yet. So I'll just want to know when to go on. Okay. Hello. Yeah, I can see some people are coming in. Chisom, yeah, I can see you. Okay. All right. Are we good to go? Okay. Very great to be here. Wish I could see all the people joined in, but we'll just go ahead. My name is Nnamdi Oji. I'll do a little more of introduction when I start presenting my slides. So it's good to be here. It's good to have this opportunity to share something I like to share. In a moment, I'll share my slides. Let's just see how many people come in so they don't miss anything. Okay, so do let me know you can see my slide. Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. So how to craft your CV like a pro. What's a CV, first of all? Most of us know already. A CV is a curriculum vitae. That should be French or Greek or whatever it is. What matters is that the CV is an arranged document that tells somebody about you, what you've done, where you've been in a professional setting, so to speak. So it's more like a biography. It's more like a story of who you've been professionally, what you've done, productive things you've done, and what you've been able to achieve in those spheres. So that's what a CV should be, and CV is very very popular among young people when they are getting out of universities and then starting to look for jobs. But actually, your CV should be something you have handy even before you graduate from the university. So, we're going to be talking about how to craft your CV like a pro. And I'm here especially on the platform of striking CVs. I'll get to tell you more about them along the line. So this is going to be a rundown of how we're going to be doing this. Yeah, I'll tell you a little about me. I'll go on to tell you a little about Striking CVs, the platform I'm coming from, and preliminaries for crafting a CV. So I'll tell you the things you need to get ready with before you start to draw up your CV. Or, yeah, you need to rewrite a CV every now and then. So if you have this in mind, it's really going to help at every point in time. And then you also see the sections of a pro CV. I call it a pro CV, but we call it a striking CV at our end. And then your CV sections will be explained. So the sections I'm going to show you, I'll try as much as possible to explain each of those sections so you can understand them appropriately. And then I'm going to take questions because I believe I'm not going to cover everything that's there to be covered, but whatever you want to know additionally, you could ask in the questions. Okay, are we good to go? Good to see you all coming in. It's quite interesting. All right. Okay, so here's a little about me. Um, I'm a very young guy. Just have about two years of experience. Started working in 2018, and yesterday when Sadiq reminded me of our first meeting in 2018, I just started a job then, and as at now, I'm already on my third job since then. That's less than 2 years. So I've been with Striking CV since 2018, part time though. So I train, I write CVs, I also manage certain projects for the business. So it's the only part of my work I'm going to be able to talk about now. I also work a full-time job. Like I said, I'm on my third job at the moment. So yeah, I love to meet people. I mean, one of the reasons I'm here is simply because I love to meet people. I love to chat, and then I love to watch movies to ease off stress. So I hope this is going to be very very helpful to a lot of us. I hope we grab a lot of insights and knowledge from this to enable us wade the storm. I mean, COVID 19 has messed a lot of things up, and at this point, we just have to stand up and do what we got to do. We can't keep waiting for COVID 19 to go away. So, about striking CVs. So, we founded Striking CVs as a means to help young Nigerians position themselves appropriately for jobs and opportunities, because in addition to the huge unemployment rate in Nigeria, in Africa, and around the world, there's also the big problem of people not being able to position themselves properly, to sell themselves, to let the recruiter know what they can do. I mean, the the major problem a lot of humans have is being able to bring out what's inside of them, is being able to say what we can do, and then show this to other people. So striking CVs is just a platform where we try to help people bring out that um, the skills they have, the experiences they have, show it in the best possible way. That's why our maxim is beauty plus content. So if we are creating a document for you to show to somebody else, we want it to first be attractive, and then secondly have enough content to convince the person that whatever you're doing is worthwhile. So the beauty is going to attract the person to first say, okay, yeah, let me look at this. And then in the content, he's now going to see that yes, this person is actually what I'm looking at. Okay, so that's basically what we do as striking CVs. So we write CVs and resumes, we help professionals grow, we train and all that. So that's about us. I'll go straight into the business of the day, which is how to craft a pro CV. So preliminaries, what do you need if you want to craft a CV? All right, what do you need if you want to craft a CV? So first, most CVs are made on Microsoft Word. Most CVs are made on Microsoft Word, and they are made to show different kind of things. You use bullet points, you use text boxes, you use different fonts, designs. So it's good that whoever wants to write a CV has a good mastery of Microsoft Word, has a good mastery of Microsoft Word. And yes, some people also use Corel Draw to craft their CVs, but Microsoft Word is just basic and it does a lot. It has a lot of features you can play around with. And I mean, with every new version of Microsoft Word, there's just some amazing feature coming into it. There are templates also. You could get CV templates from Microsoft Word, which you can use. So a good use of Microsoft Word is important, at least the basic, knowing how to type, knowing how to set your margins, knowing how to format, knowing how to ensure you use same font all through, not mixing fonts everywhere, knowing how to insert icons, pictures, put links. So different things, you should just be able to use Microsoft Word and you'll be good to go. The next thing you would also want to know is to define the purpose of the CV. So we say that a CV is not a one size fits all document. So you don't just do a CV once and then you walk away, and anytime your CV is requested, you go and pick up that CV and bring it. No, that's not how it works. A CV is a continuous document. You always have to update it. You always have to work on it and ensure it's showing the right details you need it to show. It's a dynamic document also because it's not something a lot of people have time to view. Anybody you're giving your CV to may most likely not have all the time to look through your CV. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to use CV to represent both CV and resume. I'm not going to create a divide between the two, right? So just allow me use CV and resume to cover both of them. So your CV is not something that somebody is going to spend the whole day reading, right? So you just want to put the details that should be important to that person on that CV, right? So that's why you need the purpose of a CV. If it's for a scholarship, it's going to look different. If it's for a job, it's going to look different. If it's for a promotion at a place you currently work already, it's also going to look different, right? So your aspirations also, you have to know these things. For example, if it's for a specific job, you need to understand the requirements of the job. You need to understand the requirements of that job. For instance, if you're a mechanical engineering graduate and then you're applying for a job as let's say a computer technician, right? You know, sometimes you just want to start at somewhere. You're applying for a job as a computer technician. It's not going to matter to the person so much the fact that you know a lot about heat turbines, or you know a lot about heat exchangers, or you know a lot about all the jargons you use in mechanical engineering. It's not going to really matter a lot. So you want to leave out those what they call them, those jargons from the whole thing. So you will need to understand the purpose of your CV, and then understand what the organization is looking for in that job requirement. So normally what I'll do if I want to apply to a job, right, I'll go ahead, I'll copy out the job description, or rather the application requirements for that particular job, from the website or wherever it was posted, I'll put it on the Word document where just on top of where I'm preparing my CV. And then I'll also go read up about the company, what are they about, what try and find out at least what's leading to this particular recruitment. Why do they need this guy at this time, right? So I'll get some nitty gritties, get some values about the company. I'll just paste as much as I can on a Word document about just one page, and then I read through it over and over. Then I start to craft the CV so that I can pick up certain words, right, that the company finds dear to them, and then I'll use them in explaining things on my CV. So, for instance, a company who wants to say who is passionate about integrity, and you want to say one of the values is honesty. They are similar things, and because you know this company likes to hear integrity more, you would go ahead and use integrity in place of honesty in your CV. So it's a rat race, right? You just want to be sure that you're putting your best foot forward at the end of the day. So you also need to understand the performance indicators of such job. So every job has a benchmark by which it's considered successful or not. Okay, so the benchmark for every job is different, and they are called performance indicators. So what's the performance indicator for a particular job you're applying for? Or let's say a front desk administrative staff. What's the performance indicator for such a person, right? You want to check that everyone who comes into the company is well attended to. You want to see that by the time people come, nobody even notice them and all that. So those are different performance indicators. And then if you're crafting a CV, you also want to know these things because you want to exhibit certain parts of yourself that are in line with the performance indicators. You want to tell them if you're applying for such a front desk role that I'm very I welcome people a lot, and then I give certain qualities that make me hope I'm back online now. Okay. So it's just going to go ahead to make the recruiter see you in a better light for at least one or two experiences you've had in also keywords. Why are keywords important? So keywords are particularly important because of applicant tracking systems, otherwise known as ATS. So applicant tracking systems are more like bots. They are more like bots that are programmed to fish out a lot of information from thousands and thousands of documents and just select a few that meet certain criteria set by the recruiter. So applicant tracking systems generally are programmed for each job requirement. So when a job requirement is put out by a recruiter, the applicant tracking system is also programmed to search for certain keywords for that particular job requirement. So when CVs are pulled for applicants, they are passed through that system, and the system just goes ahead to pick CVs that touch on those keywords that were programmed into it by the recruiter. So you need to find keywords for each of these jobs you're trying to apply to. So if you're applying to a front desk job, like I mentioned earlier, you want to find the keywords that occur to a recruiter when he's looking for a front desk staff. So what are the regular jobs of a front desk staff, right? You find this online, you find different job requirements. By the time you read through 4, 5, 6 job requirements from different companies about a front desk staff, you'll be able to get idea of certain words that reoccur over and over again. Those are the likely keywords that you want to put on your CV or cover letter to ensure that they get through the automate the applicant tracking systems. All right. So the last thing you want to be looking at is to understand the candidate's strongest skills. Understand your own skills. What are your skills? What are your strongest points? Right? Are your strongest points your grades? Are your strongest points your experience? So back 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 in the days, if I was looking for a job in 2018, my strongest points would be more of the volunteer activities I've been able to do, the things I've achieved, my grades, yeah, good grades. But now my strongest points are going to be what I've done on the job over the past 2 years, the work experience I've been able to gather over the past 2 years. So, like I said, the CV is a very dynamic document. It changes from time to time. So, you want to find out for each point in time you're working on your CV, what is my strongest point now? And that's what's going to actually help you to put your best foot forward on that CV. Okay? Let's quickly go in and look at the sections of a CV. So this is a quick sample of what a CV at Striking CVs would look like. Um, it has different sections. Not all of them are compulsory to be on your CV. Your CV can be as basic as section 1 to 6 or section 1 to 8, right? Anything that has sections 1 to 4, 5, 6 can easily pass off as a very good CV depending on the content. Okay, so you don't have to have all these sections on your CV before you know that your CV is great. A pro CV doesn't really have to have a lot. It doesn't have to say a lot. It just has to say what needs to be said in the right language. And yeah, it should have quality. It should have quality. So that's what we're talking about. And when it comes to this, it really takes experience. Like I said earlier, a CV is not something that you write once and you forget. You do it over and over again, and you'll find out that each time you do it, it gets better. Even before I got a job, I had written my CV almost 50 times. So different formats, different. So I just keep rewriting, looking at it again, rewriting, so that you're ensuring you're dotting I's, you're crossing T's. You always see something to tweak and do better at, right? So we'll just quickly dive into the different sections and begin to break them down one after the other. So the first section is the heading. The heading is where your name is going to show up. So your name shows up and it should be boldly written, right? It should be written in very clear fonts, not the so stylish fonts. I remember I said it's always better to use one font throughout your CV. This presentation, for instance, is just one font all through, but then it has different variations. Some are bold, the font size is a little, some are bigger. So that's just the variations you can make to it, but it's always cool to use one font throughout your CV. Okay, so your name should be boldly written. In fact, it should be the first thing anybody who picks up that CV is going to hit with his eyes, right? So the name should be boldly written in clear fonts, and the first name last name format is usually the most common. So you see a John Doe, you see a Jack Twain, you see a Mark Zuckerberg. So the first name last name format is the most accepted. But if you prefer to use your last name first name, then ensure you put a comma after the last name and then your first name follows. And if you wish to add your middle name, add it just after that. Okay. um yes, so next is your career field or your degree. So your career field or your degree should come just below your name. I mean, it should just come after your name, and the recruiter should be able to say, okay, John Doe, data scientist, or John Doe is a chemical engineer. All right, so you want to put that just under your name. And for a student who is just graduating, you most likely just put your BSc or your BTech or your BNG under the the name, right, under the name, and then just show that this is what I have achieved at this point. I mean, you've not yet become a professional at anything yet. You just have a degree in that. I mean, if you do have any other professional experience, or you've gathered a lot of expertise in something else, and that is what you are trying to write that CV for. Let's say, for instance, right, you are a graphic designer, but you just graduated from school, so maybe you've done graphic design for about a year or two, and maybe you now do user interface, user experience, right? And then you're applying for such a role in a tech company. I'm not going to say you go ahead and put the fact that you just graduated with a BSc in political science under your name. If you're applying for a role that has your graphic design experience as the strongest point, remember I mentioned then go ahead and put the fact that you've done graphic design. So you're going to put the UI UX designer or graphics designer just under your name. So that's why I said career field or degree, right? So know which one to put at what time. You always have to keep tweaking your CV. So the recruiter is going to know, okay, this is your name and this is what you're doing. This is why you are sending me this CV, because I won't ask for a mechanical engineer and then have people who studied political science sending me their CVs. I mean, immediately I see, oh, so person political science, I'm like, I don't need this. I drop it. I go on to the next. That's just how people screen CVs at a particular point in time. So next, contacts. You actually really need to pay attention to putting your contacts on your CV, right? Your contacts should be clear enough so the person doesn't have to strain so much to see it. A lot of people have made the mistake of not putting their contacts on the CV, and that was just the reason why they didn't get called. I mean, we're trying to reduce the rate at which people get bounced from jobs they apply for. So if you apply for 80 jobs and you then get called for one or two, you know there's a problem, right? You know there's a problem, and one of the reasons could be the fact that you leave out contact where it should be, because a person looks at your CV and is impressed and maybe just wants to get to call you and find out more about you, but can't find your phone number anywhere, can't find your email anywhere. That's going to be very, very disastrous. So it's important you have those things clearly stated on your CV, right? So your name and your email are supposed to be there. Your LinkedIn profile, your personal web page, if you have. I know some developers, tech guys use GitHub, so they put their GitHub links there. So you need to show maybe your LinkedIn profile if you have one, if you have a good LinkedIn profile, and I would actually advise you go get your LinkedIn profiles ramped up, because they are where people go to look for you these days, if even if your CV is in front of them. So your LinkedIn profile, your personal web page can also be included. If you have space, then you put in an address. So your address shouldn't be complicated. Don't put number one Nigerian streets USA. No, we don't want all that information. Just put as little as is possible. Say for instance Lagos, Nigeria, or say for instance Lekki, Nigeria, Lekki, Lagos. That's just enough. You can just put Abuja, right? That's fine to show your location. So, but we know there are some jobs that go ahead to ask, we only people in so areas should apply, right? Or only people in so areas would be considered. You can go ahead to now say, okay, I stay in Lekki Phase One, Lagos. I mean, you just write address Lekki Phase One, Lagos, and that should do it for that. They don't want to. I mean, putting out your address, exact address on your CV where you send to so many people and you don't know where it goes to is not so safe. So that's enough for an address. So phone number and email are the primary contacts you need for your heading. Okay, so we're going to the next, the professional summary. Hope this is making sense to someone. Talking about professional summary is a section used to explain why I think I should be considered for this role. Okay, so you see a lot of CVs coming, and then you see one or two lines, and then what you're reading is a highly motivated individual seeking for an opportunity to use my skills and um, experience to achieve an organization's goals. Oh, wow, great. I'm not saying that's bad, right? But I'm going to have a lot of problems reading that over and over again from the next 80 CVs I'm going to get, right? It's just going to be monotonous. It's going to start sounding cliche. So the next person I'm seeing it on his CV, I don't even need to read much. I'm just like, oh, this person is just regular. The whole essence of dropping your CV somewhere is for you to get called. What's going to make someone call you, right? It's the fact that there's something that stands out about you. Okay, so you need to use this professional summary very, very strategically. You want to tell the person what I have been able to gain in terms of experience, what I've been able to achieve with this experience I have gained, and then how I want to apply this going forward. How I want to apply this going forward. So my summary reads something like this. I say I'm a young professional who has gained experience in supply chain, who has gained experience in consulting, in engineering, in project management, and across so and so sectors. Here. This is what I've been able to do with these experiences. And I am now looking forward to apply these skills in so sector to achieve so goal, not just the organization's goal. I make my summary very specific. So whoever is reading it already knows, okay, these are the areas I've gained skill and experience in. These are the places I have applied those skills and experience, and this is where I want to go to with them. So that's basically what your summary should do for you. Okay. If you haven't gained skills, yes, maybe as a student, you're just coming up, you don't know what you want to put there in the summary, go ahead and tell them something different about you. Summarize your whole CV. Try and make it try and bring out your strongest points. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to know your strongest point, and that's what's going to help you on the CV. So this is where you try to bring out your strongest points in as brief as possible. It has to be very concise. So it could be as long as 5 to 6 lines, but try not to even make it that long. Should be very concise, shouldn't carry a lot of jargons, and don't repeat so much words. So don't keep writing driven or motivated. Try to ensure that you're keeping it simple and sweet. So read it over and over again, get people to read it for you, ensure that it's making sense and it's not sounding cliche, it's not just full of buzzwords all over. Okay, right, so we're making progress. Personal information. So like I said, it's fast becoming unnecessary. Not everybody is making their CVs with personal information there. So not everybody is making their CVs with personal information there. And what do I mean by personal information? People put date of birth, religion, marital status, gender, state of origin, residential address. Now, I have the feeling that this all came from, because I like to trace the origin of things. This all came from, back then when you're looking for a federal government job or a state job, you need to show all these details. Till now, if you want to apply to some agencies, some government agencies, you need to show these details: date of birth, religion, marital status, gender, blah blah blah. But it's not contemporary, so you can actually leave it out unless it's purely stated in the application guidelines that this should be put on your CV, right? No need for date of birth, no need for religion, marital status, gender. I mean, so gender may be excused for the fact that some people's names may not easily tell whether they are male or female. But these days, with the whole diversity thing, I don't think there's any need to put whether you're male or female gender. Anyone can do the job, in my opinion. So you should also note, if you need to put them, ensure correct spellings and proper formatting. Ensure correct spellings and proper formatting. I think that's all I need to say here because it really doesn't matter much in my work line these days. All right, so we're looking at work experience. Hope this is making sense to somebody. Hope this is making sense to somebody. All right, let's go. Let's go. Written in reverse chronological order. Okay, whether it's chronological, reverse chronological, I just want to be sure that I'm explaining the right thing. So what I mean is the most recent comes first. Okay, your professional work experience, I had to put that professional in brackets because I'll explain better. It has to be most recent first and then going down that way. So imagine you have 15 years worth of experience, and you currently work maybe with the World Health Organization. You don't want to put your the first experience you had in one clinic back at the village as your as the first experience on your CV. Before whoever is reading now gets to where you currently work, he may never get there. So it only makes logical sense to put your most recent work experience, as that is what people are looking for. They are looking at where are you coming from at this point, who is this person coming to meet me, where is he coming from, what's he currently doing. And yes, recruiters like to hire people who are currently doing something. It means you're productive. They don't always jump at taking people who have been idle over a period of time. So at every point in time, you need to be doing something. You need to be getting yourself engaged so that if any recruiter asks you, okay, so what have you been doing for the past 6 months? You can say this. You mustn't necessarily have been in a job, right? But you can tell what you've been doing. So the most recent experience comes on top. I mean, professional experience, right? You need to detail your past experiences, including internships, jobs, part-time jobs, full-time jobs, contract jobs. They all fall into this category. They are work experiences, right? Now, for volunteer jobs, you have to be quite careful when you put on volunteer jobs, because for a job, practically, if a recruiter wants to regard a particular experience, is going to want to ask, okay, how long did you work here? How much were you paid? This is, and so many questions are going to follow. So for volunteer jobs, it's not like that. But if this volunteer job was something you were doing consistently, spending a particular amount of time on it over a given period of time, then you can go ahead and then chip it in. So say maybe you work 20 hours a week with a particular volunteer organization, whether you were getting paid or not, but then the work you were doing for this organization can be tied to a particular result that you were achieving with them, and you were doing it consistently, maybe at least 3 days a week or 4 days a week. You can include it as a part-time volunteer job, or being sure to indicate properly what it was. Your notable achievements on each job role can be highlighted a little bit on under each of them. So if for instance you were a salesperson, I like to use salespeople because they are the ones who can easily count what they have done. So a salesperson says, I consistently surpassed target um, for 3 or 6 months at a stretch, or I won salesperson award of the year under so company. So you can put such good achievements under each of the job roles you're putting in your work experience. Okay. Yeah, so you can use percentages, use numbers, use figures, use amount of money to and specific units of measures to try and make those achievements real. Okay. So you just don't want to say, I was the best staff of the year, blah 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 blah. What made you the best staff of the year? Okay, you brought in 100 million in sales. Good. The person can relate to the fact that there are numbers backing up this claim at the end of the day, and it makes them feel like you know what you're saying. So I hope that explains work experience. I also need to mention that work experience is most likely the most is where CV writers spend a lot of time. right? So for people who have a little experience, a CV writer will to show exactly what the recruiter wants to see and what the person has done in line with that. So we're going to spend a lot of time trying to ensure that the wordings are correct, keywords are put where they should be, and the recruiter can easily understand what we are saying and trying to explain where this person has been um, in his work. So next up, education. So this is where I feel most people are going to be playing around, because apparently most of us may be students, right? So education, preferably only degree awarded education should be put here. I know this is the era of online courses, online classes here and there, but it's important that we differentiate between them. There's a place for certifications. So if you did an extra course somewhere, there's a place for certifications on your CV, but then we need to keep this clean and simple. Education most times just carries two lines, right? Carries your BSc and then SSc. I mean, even up till now, I don't have a master's degree. So up till now, all my education carries is BSc and SSc. Okay. So if you've done a master's degree, then it comes in there. If you've done a doctorate degree, then it comes in there. If you've done like a course, that a diploma course that maybe wasn't a master's or doctorate, or maybe during university you've gone on to do a full-time, let's say, software engineering course, lasts about 6 7 months, and the degree it gives you is highly recognized. It could be professional degree or but highly recognized globally, then you can go ahead and put there as an education. If not, it's more advisable to put it somewhere else in the training section, like we're going to see. So you should include the class of degree only if it is favorable. So let's say they are looking for people who have first class or 2-1. Example, for scholarship CV, you want to include your class of degree if you made the first class, right? So but if you had a 2-2 or whatever, it's not like saying those are not good grades, but for this purpose of what you're sending in the CV for, ensure that you're putting in only what is going to speak in your best interest. So if you were best in class, you could also put it there. Try not to put more than your post primary education, meaning try not to put more than your secondary school education um, in that area. Professional skills. So you want to include a mix of your soft skills and your technical skills here. A minimum of 4 and then a maximum of 10 to 16 is appropriate. Example of soft skills that are sellable are like communication skills, teamwork, always sellable. These days emotional intelligence is becoming something. So if you've been able to put your emotional intelligence score up to yourself, you know how emotionally intelligent you can be. If you've done studies on that and you can manage that very well, you go ahead and put it. If you're someone who works good in a team, go ahead, put it there. Soft skills and technical skills. The important thing is to place the strongest ones on top. Place the strongest ones on top. Pay attention to the skills that are required for the specific job and demonstrated in any work experience you have. So if there are skills that you've demonstrated in any of the work experience or volunteer experience you've put on your CV, ensure that that is the skill you're going to highlight as a professional skill. Now, what does this do? It keeps laying emphasis on the fact that you have this skill. Now you have said you exhibited this skill in so work. So maybe in your summary you've mentioned it, in your work experience you've mentioned it, your professional skills you put it up. Now you want to be sure that that skill is one very strong skill needed for this job, and you've mentioned it in 3 places in your CV. Anybody reading that CV already agrees that yes, you do have this skill. You've exhibited it, and you know that is a skill you have. So self-awareness is also something that most recruiters are looking out for. So you want to show those particular kind of skills in your professional skills. So then, like I said, a brief account of your career. of where you applied the skill is more important than jumping up a whole lot of skills there. I mean, if I see someone who puts about 10 skills on a CV, I'm going to be put off right from the view of it. So I just want to see a few skills and then tell me, how did you apply this skill, right? So let's say a teamwork skill. You go ahead to tell me how in a classwork you did, you were able to coordinate people and you were able to do that in just one or two lines. You mentioned that. I'll say, okay, yes, you know what teamwork is about, and then I can agree with you that you probably have this skill. Okay, so that's what I would prefer to see than a lot of skills flying around. All right, let's go to see the section 7, training, certifications and conferences. So you just want to put here your relevant trainings you have. If you notice, I've mentioned the word relevant over and over again. What do I mean as relevant? Relevant is relevant to the specific reason why you're writing that CV. When I started, I talked about knowing the purpose of the CV. Relevance here is relative to that purpose. So it should be relevant in the sense that it ties with what's required, it ties with what they're looking for, it ties with what I want this person to see me as at the end of the day. So training programs have to be relevant, the certifications you're putting there have to be relevant. I mean, as a recent graduate, I was tempted. I put everything I've ever done or I knew into my CV. At some point, I had my CV in 3 pages. I was feeling good. I've done a lot of things. I put it there. I mean, but as time went on, I began to realize that not all these things are relevant. For each application, I have to pick here, pick there, bam, I send it out because that's what that application requires, or that's what that particular job role requires. I don't have to put in everything anymore. Okay, so it makes more sense that you pick only what's relevant to that particular CV you're putting together and send out. It could date back to your secondary school, no problems. It could talk about is a training you attended while in secondary school. It's not a problem. So in all I've mentioned so far, dates are very important. Your work experience, your education, your trainings, you have to put dates, month and year. So for education, I always remember I got into school at November so year and I finished at December so year. Okay, so I finished at December 2016. I got into school November 2011. It doesn't leave my mind. I always put it there. So if you're talking about the training too, if it was a training you did for 1 month, I remember back then when I did Google Digital Skills training, I did it between August and September 2018, 2017. So you just want to be able to keep track. When you put month and the year, it makes people have that feel that you pay attention to details. You have all these things in check. You keep your records properly. So dates should be included in all these things. You can also put key learnings from each training. Can also put key learnings from each training which you have done, and then you really shouldn't be bothered about the order of the training, except you're sure that your most recent training makes more sense in terms of relevance than the other ones that follow. So you can go ahead. I personally just arrange my trainings according to the most recent. So if I'm applying for a particular role and I haven't had a training in that regard or in that field, I just put training session and just put maybe any other certification or conferences I have. So I always prefer to follow that reverse chronological order so that the dates are showing that okay, as at this point, this is what I did, and before then, this is what I did, and before then, this is what I did. So if I can't get that fix based on the relevance I have been talking about, I just do away with it. But you could go ahead, put your trainings in whatever order you want. Then industry recognized certifications and conferences are more likely to make a statement, so they should please appear first. They should please appear first. Okay. um I'll try and rush up what's left. Time is almost up. So talking about leadership experience. So yeah, leadership positions. This isn't rocket science. We already know what leadership positions are. Whatever you've handled within or outside your regular job assignments should be put on here. But note that when a recruiter is reading leadership experience, he doesn't want to see supervisor of so team, and that supervisor was as a result of a job that you were assigned to do, right? So if you were assigned to be a supervisor, your job is to be a supervisor. I don't think it won't occur to me as a leadership experience. Leadership experience here is something that you took initiative, or as a result of your skill, your experience, or your knowledge, you were nominated, elected, or selected to take up this leadership experience, not just the fact that it was your job to do so. But anyways, even on your job, you could have such leadership experience, and especially if you were able to achieve something significant in that experience, go ahead and put it there. Go ahead and put it there, right? Go ahead and put it there. So it could range from student bodies to estate committees. The scope isn't defined. You can go ahead and have fun putting your leadership experience there, but ensure that it is again relevant. Ensure it is traceable. You can say what you did, and then any result that you were able to achieve in it. Also, don't forget dates. You shouldn't also repeat, like I just mentioned, the case of having something you did on a job. So if you've put it in your work experience that you were a supervisor so time, and this is what you achieved, you don't have to come here again and start telling the story of how you were a supervisor again and again and again. Okay, it's not an essay, it's a CV. Okay, we almost done here. I'm just going to stop at section 10, because the others you would be able to handle them once you're familiar with sections 1 to 10. Okay, so your relevant interests can be highlighted. So for example, I've worked in different places, I've worked in different sectors, but I still have interest in renewable energy. So if I'm applying to an energy company, I'm definitely going to put it there that I have interest in renewable energy. I don't have any experience in it, I've not done research in it, but I'm going to put it there that I have interest in renewable energy. Who knows? It could be the fact that they want to set up an arm there, and my other skills are fit for the kind of person they want in that team. But then because I have shown that I also have an interest in renewable energy, they just go ahead and say, okay, let's call him in and weigh these interests he has. So go ahead, put your interests there, industry related interests, right? Or what you feel you want to do out of your career in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. So your hobbies are just there to show that you're human. You're not a robot who just knows about work, and is always serious and everything. Your hobbies. So my hobbies are traveling. I mentioned some of them earlier. I like to chat. I like watch movies once in a while. I don't really watch so much movies anyway. But I like to chat, I like to travel. Yeah, I watch movies once in a while. If I hear a lot of noise about a particular movie, I probably just want to go and see it. So it's just there to show that you're human and you know how to once in a while, right? You don't put hobbies like drinking, smoking. Those are not hobbies. Okay. So keep them as sane and as clean as possible in hobbies. Okay, that's all I want to say on this. References are also going out of fashion. I don't put references on my CVs at all. I stopped putting references on my CVs even just after I applied for first two jobs, and I found it was useless. There was no need. Nobody was asking for these references, so why am I putting them? Except again, the job requirements should guide you. If the job requirements say go ahead, put references, we need to see your references, then go ahead, put 1 or 2 references. Two is always what's usually asked for. So just put the name, email address, designation. So I say John Doe, product designer at Microsoft. California, USA. So that's enough. You don't have to go ahead and put his phone number. Phone number is very private. Even email addresses are very private. But for the fact that they may want to contact him, I mean, the email address is a more official way to go ahead and contact him. Okay. Right. So that's all I want to talk about on writing a pro CV. I hope I've been able to make sense from all of this. And at this point, I'm going to conclude. Your CV is not a one size fits all document. It's a gospel we keep preaching, we keep preaching. And any HR, anybody who comes to talk to you about writing CVs, building profiles, not going, is going to tell you it's not one size fits all. You have to do it, keep doing it. So that's why this knowledge is important. Yes, you could come to us as striking CVs and then we do a CV for you. One thing we also do is the fact that we put you on our support group at the end of when everybody will work on a CV, we put on the support group so that the person can go ahead and then ask any question he has. Going forward, and people have been on our group for 3 4 years, and we've watched them move from one job to the other, working on their CV every now and then, and we help them do this thing. So if it's important you also have this information, so even if somebody does it for you the first time, you can always tweak it over and over. You can understand why the person did some certain things on your CV, and then when you want to work on it for another job, you know what to change and what to remove and what to put in there. So that's why you need this kind of information. Your CV is a continuous documentation of your professional career and should be updated regularly. I've said that already. Lastly, your CV should make a statement. Your CV should be striking. Your CV should be outstanding. And in a class I was in last on Sunday, I said you have to be irresistible. So your CV should be something that I see and oh, I just want to keep reading through it. It should be very, very interesting to read. It should be beautiful to the eyes. I mean, I hope this presentation was beautiful to your eyes, right? I really do hope it was. But it should be beautiful to the eyes, and then it should have some quality. So I don't just want to be reading the same thing over and over again. I don't just want to read the fact that you went to school and then you came out and that's all. I want to see some content. Okay. So aside being beautiful, I also want to see some content. That's all I'm going to say about writing a pro CV. I hope you've gotten enough juice from this already. I'm just going to take as few questions as I can. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate being able to do this. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a wonderful uh, session talking to us about CVs. I guess this is something that really came in handy because most of the times we're required to write our CVs in our daily to daily interactions, and probably when most of us are out of this corona thing, maybe we'll be wanting to apply for jobs, and maybe you don't really know how to write a CV.
Yeah.
So I find it's really important and it really came in handy. And it's always that question of how I think it's always hard to start writing your own CV because you feel like I'm going to write tomorrow. I'm going to because I guess the whole maybe the problem is you don't
Very,
really
very hard. Yes.
yeah, because you feel like I don't really know what to write inside. So I think it's very important and very resourceful that you actually explained every section from the top how we should go about this. And I think from now on it should not be hard for anyone to like write a CV on their own right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think people feel like
Absolutely.
people always have this mentality of wanting to write like 2 pages CV or 4 page and most times people are asked to write like one page and you're like how do I fit everything into one page, it's kind of difficult, stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing in with us how to write a CV like a pro. By now I guess everyone should be like a pro. Yeah, we should challenge ourselves. If you're not written a CV, you should now challenge
Yeah.
it.
I hope so too. I
Yeah,
hope
yeah.
so too.
After this, so there's this question: is
I
there a
hope so
difference?
too.
Is there a difference between a CV and a resume? When I say resume, when you say attach your resume or sending your CV, are they the same thing or yeah?
Okay, so this question for me, I don't think I've ever had to bother myself about the difference between CV and resume. It's really not where my energy is going to. But what a CV is like is more like where you've been, what you've done. Most times, if you are someone who's worked for about 10, 11, 15, 20 years, you're going to see some people like that have CVs of about 5, 6 pages. Okay, so that's practically what the CV does to narrate everything that's been done. But these days, we don't have much difference between CVs and resumes. Why? Because the generation we're in now doesn't like to read a lot. They don't want to see so much in a particular document. So even the CVs these days are as brief as possible. So resume now if a brief documentation of okay, I've worked here, can you hear me?
I had lost you for quite some time. Not get you clearly.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you. I could not hear you a while back. You could proceed. I guess probably it's network issue. Are you good now?
Yeah, probably network. Once you can hear me, I'm fine.
I can hear you now. You're good now.
Okay, so I was saying the resume was naturally supposed to be point worked here, there, and just in a brief one pager, tell somebody where you've been, and that's just it, right? So it's resume is usually used maybe for students who just have what they've studied, and that's all. I mean, very brief document. I hope you get my point. But a CV was supposed to be more comprehensive, tell a little bit of story here and there, and that's what I've tried to show here. So when you make a point, you could go ahead and try to explain it because you're writing a CV. So, but these days there's really no difference. CV or resume, just send in that document. That's what you have, and whoever is going to look at it. That's why we advise don't make it too long. Don't make it too long unless you have a lot of experience. I mean, you're applying for a ministerial position, then you want to put every single detail of what you've done in your life there. But if it's not that, um, just make it short and simple, 1 or 2 pages. That's as much as you can do. So I hope I've been able to answer the question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that. So, could you please tell us the difference between a functional and a structural CV?
A functional and a structural CV.
Yeah.
Again, I'm really not going to be going into so spending so much energy on. So a functional CV would more likely be what I try to explain about you making a CV into what you need it for at a particular time. So my CV is playing a particular role in trying to make me look like a very qualified civil engineer. So it's just highlighting my experience, my skills, my expertise as a civil engineer. So for that particular role, okay? So that's more like what the functional is going to be. And then your structural goes ahead to, I mean, I really don't know how to explain what structural will be, but it has a particular structure you adhere to, and you just follow the flow of it. So name, like the header I talked about, education, work experience, this, that's the exact way it's going to flow, and you're just putting everything you've done according to that particular structure. But a function is just trying to highlight what you've done particularly for the role you're trying to apply for. So, like I mentioned somewhere in the slides, you could take professional skills if it's your strongest point. It could come before work experience for some people. Okay, so if for instance, I'm a freelancer, I use the instance of a graphic designer. So I could take my skills and put it on top because maybe I don't have work experience, but I'm just going to put it on top and say I've been able to design so and so for so person. These are my skills, but it's not a regular work experience. So in that case, that's a functional CV for me, and it works because it's playing a particular function at that time. But the structural just goes with everything we've talked about, like in the sections, and just puts down all you have there.
Oh yeah, sure. Um, and so as like you mentioned about students and then the whole, there's always a problem when it comes, or like a difficulty when as students and you're trying to write your own CV and you get the work experience and you feel like, oh my god, what am I going to write here? So like as students with no experience, so should we be bothered about work experience, or what can you advise?
Okay, so because I went to a school where I had to do internship for 3 months and then 6 months, by the time I was graduating, I had at least something to call work experience, right? But I know not all schools are the same, and students are going to have that challenge. So for you, the first thing that you want to show on your CV as much as possible is your education if you don't have work experience. But I know most times students these days have done a lot of things even while in school. So education is going to come as first section, good grade, whatever you have, put it there. And then don't be so bothered about work experience. What should you use to make up for work experience? I mentioned trainings, certifications, conferences. I mentioned leadership experience. Those are the things you're going to put afterwards. Work experience can now come anywhere, but if you don't have work experience, leave it out. As a student, yes, it will show that you just graduated so and so time, and then the next thing the person is going to be seeing is maybe the trainings you've done. um you have to develop yourself at every point in time, whether you're a student or not. I mean, there's no excuse in this time and age for not having some extra training or some extra knowledge from somewhere, even when you're graduating. So you can now put all those on your CV. Looking for your first job, I mean, don't sacrifice anything. Put everything on your CV when you're looking for your first job, right? Go ahead, put it there, and then if you know particularly that you have certain skills or certain experiences for a particular job, then you can streamline it. But if you still look at your CV and you're like, I mean, there's nothing here, go ahead, put the trainings you've done, show how productive you've been. Exactly, that's the word. Show how productive you've been even as a student, and then graduating, you just want to put it there. So for instance, I would always put in my CV when I just graduated the fact that I led a particular committee back in school, and we were able to raise money for a particular project, and it was achieved. But these days you won't see that on my CV anymore, but then it was a big deal to me. So it just had to show that I was productive, you understand, and they will go ahead and ask questions from that part of your CV in an interview.
Oh yeah, oh that's nice. That's pretty informative.
Yeah.
At least now we should know if you have a problem, maybe writing your work experience. Now you have an idea of how to go about it. And so there's always something. Sometimes when you're applying for maybe certain roles or certain positions, and you're asked to attach a cover letter and a CV. So I mean, could you please explain to us what exactly is a cover letter, the difference between a cover letter and a CV, or what's the essence of a cover letter sometimes, even when writing a CV? I mean, to just get the whole point, is the cover letter.
Okay, so a cover letter gives you the opportunity to try and tell more stories about what you've said on your CV. Okay, so the cover letter gives you that opportunity to show how fluent you are in expressing yourself. So your cover letter is going to trace most of what you've done on your CV and then add more details to it. But you should also be careful not to be repeating everything on your CV, on your cover letter. You're just giving maybe additional information and then arranging it such that it has a flow. So your cover letter helps to tell me that because I studied so so and so course, and at this other point in my life I was able to use it and do this, or because I got this skill at this point in my life I was able to do this year so that I can achieve this. This is what my cover letter is doing. It just helps to give more detail, more insight about what you would like to say to this employer, to sell yourself to this employer at the end of the day. So cover letter is, like I said, just adding more details to what you're trying to tell the person from your CV, but then try not to repeat everything on your CV there. So if you know the particular points where you feel you have higher advantage, go ahead, emphasize on those points in your cover letter, and boom, tell a good story. Tell a good story. That's the end of it.
Yeah, that's nice. Seeing as that we have no questions, I would like to pass my sincere gratitude for taking your time to answer the questions, as well as taking us through the whole process of writing a CV. And to everyone that is watching right now, everyone who tuned in, a big thank you for being an amazing audience. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for, I mean, yeah, I feel the energy, and like you guys are actually learning something, which is actually the main idea here. So, one thing you should know, you need to go home with.
Thank you so much.
I guess the slides. I guess the slides will be shared soon. And then if you want to connect to the speaker, the links are there. He's LinkedIn. Uh, you can connect with him through LinkedIn, or you can maybe send him an email. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's how you can connect. And please remember what he said. A CV and the cover letter. Do not repeat these things. I mean, tell a good story, but do not repeat. Yeah. And then remember to always tailor your
Tell a good
CV, to always tailor your CV to what you're applying for. I mean, you should not always have one,
okay.
you know, every other role. Like I'm applying for an engineering role, and my CV has nothing related to engineering. So I guess the best thing is to go home with the fact that you need to tailor your CV with what is required of the role you're applying for. So yeah, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it, and thank you so much everyone for joining in today. And remember to also subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Thanks for letting me come in. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Thank you guys for
Have a good day.
being a nice audience. Remember to subscribe to the channel. And yeah, if you have any questions or anything, you could always reach out to us. Yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up now.